Hi everyone, this is Mindy and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be doing or showing you what I call underblending, I guess is a way to put it. You hear that terminology as in underpainting when people are doing paintings. Today, I'm doing it with ink blending. So first I want to show you some of the products that I'll be using. I have the Here For You stamp and die set. I'm going to be trying out a grip mat from Waffle Flower, the nesting rectangles from Hero Arts, and then I have the Poppy Field stencil and also the stamp set. The ink colors that I will be using today is Flannel, Cherry, Guava, Lemonade. Then I also have the Intense Black ink. We have Limelicious, Fairway, and Field, all from Simon Says Stamp. The adhesives and some of my other tools are Repositionable Tape, Easy C Tape, a tape runner, my Connect glue in a fine tip bottle, Post-it tape, my T-square ruler and triangle tray. I also have some clear quartz sequins from Gina K Designs, my trusty tweezers. I also have a press tool and then also some blending brushes. So the first thing I'm going to do is I have some Hammermill cardstock here and I cut that at 6 inches. I already have this poppy stamp loaded in my Misti and I thought it would be best to have it turned this way so that way I have the entire image. Now I'm going to ink this up with flannel ink, and I do this for almost all of my stamps that have a coordinating stencil because I don't want to have to worry about possibly black ink smearing when I'm ink blending. And also sometimes I really like the look of the light gray ink. It can almost give your image a no line look. So I stamped that down with the help of my press tool, and the first stamped impression actually turned out really good. So I'm going to leave it just like that and then go to my surface to work on the ink blending. I took one of the grid mats from Simon Says Stamp and I just trimmed it in half and I'm taping it down to my work surface. One of the reasons I've started doing this lately is because I have less cleanup. Now I took some repositionable tape and I added it to the back of my stamped image. So it's going to just kind of hold that in place while I do my ink blending. Now for the stencil, it does have a few layers to it. I'm starting with the first layer, which is the actual poppy flower. So I lined up the stencil and I'm holding it down with Post-it tape. And then I'm going to start with my lightest color, which is Guava. So this initially is what I'm going to call under blending, for lack of a better word for it. I'm starting with a light layer of ink. Now, one of the reasons I like to do this is because it can be my highlight area for the flower. Now, you could use this same color ink to add dimension and darken some areas up with the flower. You can definitely do that. That works really well. But I do like to bring in a darker color because I like more contrast when I'm doing it. So this is my under blending. I have that light layer there. I'm leaving that stencil in place. And then I'm coming in with cherry ink. So this is my darker color. It's a couple steps up from Guava, and I'm only going to add it to certain parts of the flower. I still want to have some of that Guava peeking through to be my highlight area. I probably should have grabbed a smaller blending brush at this point, but when it comes to larger open areas of a stencil, I like to use a larger blending brush for that. I just find I get a smoother look with my larger brush on those bigger areas, but a smaller brush would have came in really handy, especially when I started getting really close to some of those other flowers on the stencil. So I'm going to then remove that Post-it tape that's holding my stencil down and remove the first layer. So that is going to complete the flower. There is no other stencil for the flower portion, which is why I thought it was important to add that contrast in there. Now we have the second layer, which is going to be our stems. So I lined that up. I'm holding it down with that Post-it tape. And then this time I'm coming in with Field. And for that, I'm going to be grabbing a smaller blending brush for this because they're pretty tiny areas. Now, with small areas like this, it is important to be blending left to right and right to left because you really want to make sure you're getting in that area as best as you can to have a really good coverage. So this is going to be the darkest green that I use, which is the stems. So I'm removing that stencil, coming in with the third layer of the stencil. This one is going to be the leaves. So this one's really going to stand out because these leaves are larger than the other ones. Now this one, I'm also going to be doing some of that under blending. And for that, I am using lemonade. I really like adding yellow to my leaves, and I'm not going really hard-handed here. I'm not coming in too, can't think of the word, heavy-handed, sorry, with my blending because I don't want it to be that bright, bright yellow. I just wanted a base color. Now I'm going to come in with Fairway ink. So this is kind of a medium green. And once again, I am going to add color just to one side, maybe lightly over the yellow on the leaves because I don't want it to be a bright yellow there. I just wanted it to be a hint, almost like it's glowing, or maybe that's the side that's in the sunshine. Now it was getting pretty snug in there, and I realized that the big brush just was not going to work without me losing the yellow in the previous leaves. So I came in with a smaller blending brush, which really helps control where I'm putting that darker color. Now, pretty much where I'm putting it is going to be when it's right by the flower is where my darkest area is going to be. So that way the leaf, or the part of the leaf that's closest to the sun, is going to be the brightest portion or the lightest portion of it. So now once again, I am removing my Post-it tape with the help of my tweezers. I had just done my nails, and granted they're dry, but I don't know, you're just a little more careful with your nails when you do them right away. So now I'm bringing in the last layer of the stencil. This color is going to be Limelicious. So it is a very nice bright green. I'm not going to worry about any shading. I'm just going to go right over all of those open areas with that bright green. Now that that layer is done, I am going to just carefully remove this from my work surface, just kind of twisting it a little bit. And I can remove the grid paper because I'm done with that for right now. Now to remove that repositionable tape on the back, all you need to do is rub your hand over it and it comes right off. So I'm bringing this back over to my Misti because I did not remove my stamp set. So I brought that back over. I just kind of double checked to make sure that it was lined up perfectly. And I'm going to come back in with the intense black ink this time. So I'm stamping over it. So sometimes I do like the look of a no line look with that kind of light gray color of ink that I started with. But in this case, I really wanted these poppies to stand out. So that is where I came back in with the black ink. Made sure to really press down on those centers because that's kind of where the darkest areas are. And I was once again really happy with my first impression. So I'm going to call that good. Now I just wanted to show you really quick that I clean my stencils when I'm done with them. I just have a rag here. I spray the stencil with some rubbing alcohol, and then I just wipe it away and I can put it away and it's ready for my next time. Now to trim this panel out, I am using one of the nested rectangles from Hero Arts, and this one is going to measure about 3 3/4 by 5 inches. I love using these when it comes to large images like this because I can really move around and pick out what area I want to have for the front of my card. Now because this was in a landscape mode, I'm trimming off part of that because when I place it on my plate in my Spellbinders Platinum 6, I want to kind of run it through kitty corner. That way I'm not putting so much pressure on my machine running it straight on. Now I did go ahead and also cut down a few other pieces of cardstock that are measuring that same size as my panel. I'm adding some tape runner to that, and I'm going to layer these behind that panel just to give it a little bit of stability and lift. Now I'm bringing in a splat box, and I have some, I think this is like Gonzai Tombi's Starry Colors, something like that. Beautiful set that I love to use for splatters. I have the white one there that I added some water to, and just flicking on some of those sparkly white splatters. Then I can set this off on the side to dry, and I'm going to work on a sentiment. This comes from the Here For You stamp set, which has so many wonderful and meaningful sayings on here. You don't see these kind of things on stamp sets very often, so I thought it was a beautiful stamp set. I thought this would be a good time to try out this grip mat from Waffle Flower. This is the 4 3/4 by 6 inches, so I know it's going to fit really nice into my Misti tool. So Waffle Flower graciously sent this to me. I hadn't tried it yet, and I really wanted to just play around. I briefly saw some videos. I probably should have paid attention a little bit better. But here I'm just trying to figure out exactly how the mat is going to go, what I need to do with my Misti. I know to use these with my Misti, I had to remove that foam insert. Now, if you haven't seen these yet, this is pretty much the same material that you're getting out of your stamps that are created in the United States. So it's that same kind of texture and feel to it. So there is also like a beveled edge to it. So I'm placing that, I'm sorry if I'm saying so a lot. I'm placing this in my Misti tool kind of face down, and I'm taking one of these mats. Now, I honestly don't even need this really, but I didn't think of that at the time. I was just playing around with this. I'm placing that kind of transparency in the center of my mat so that it's kind of backwards. Yes, backwards. Now, once I have that there, I am going to peel this up and flip it over. So that way, this transparency that has all those grid lines is going to be on the back. And I left a border going all the way around, so it's still going to stick down to my plastic surface there of the Misti tool. Like I said, I really don't even need it, but I was just playing around and experimenting. And here I'm just taking my cardstock and I'm placing that right over the top. So you don't even see it, but you know, it's ready to go. Now I'm going to pick out a sentiment. This is the Here For You. I really liked that rectangle shape and the frame around the sentiment. I placed that on my cardstock and I'm going to ink it up with the Intense Black ink. I was impressed. This didn't pull up off of the Misti. It stayed down there. So it gave me the opportunity to stamp it again, which I could anyway with the Misti, but nothing moved. Everything stayed in place. It didn't kind of pop up when I pulled the door of the Misti away. I think it's pretty handy. I'm excited to experiment and try more things with the grip mat, but I just wanted to show you that here that you can use it in your Misti tool. The cardstock did pop up really nice. It was a great release. It wasn't super sticky to pull off. So I am going to just kind of pick this up, put it back in the packaging, and save it for the next time. Now back to my sentiment, I'm trimming it out into a thin strip because I wanted to use it with my mini die cutting machine. I didn't feel like I needed to bring in my big one for this. I have my Hero Arts compact cutter just kind of off on the side of my desk. So I lined up the coordinating die, held that down with the Easy C tape, and then ran that through the compact cutter, which has suction cups on the bottom, so it's sticking to my glass surface. I also went ahead and die cut out 2 more pieces, and I'm going to layer that together with my tape once again to give that stability and lift and eliminates me having to use any foam tape or foam squares. Off screen, I created a side folding card base. This is going to be 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I rolled up some of the Easy C tape and placed that in the inside so that my cardstock stays nice and flat. I'm applying tape runner to the back of my stamped panel, and then I can line that up on the front of my card base. So I like taping my card bases shut. That way I'm really able to eyeball this and make sure that my margins are even and nothing is popping up on me. And then I can also add tape runner behind my sentiment. And then I just recently found my small T-square ruler. I couldn't find it for the longest time. I cleaned, I found it, I decided to use it. Help me make sure that my sentiment is straight. Now to finish this off, I'm bringing in some clear quartz sequins from Gina K Designs. I'm using my little pickup tool from Simon Says Stamp. I start out by just kind of placing them around the card, and then I'm going to adhere them with Connect glue that I have in a fine tip bottle. So I'm placing down a little dot of the glue, picking up the sequins with that pickup tool, and then just placing that over the top of my dot of glue. So that's going to finish off the card project. I really love how this turned out. I'm glad to see a stencil with this poppy stamp set. I think it's beautiful and could have so many possibilities with color combinations. All of my supplies are listed down below in the video description and over on my blog. I really appreciate you stopping by today. Thank you so much. And if you're not a subscriber, I would really love if you subscribe to my channel. Thanks again and see you soon.